Hello all, welcome to Frank's talk show. Today let's talk about Chinese attitudes towards Hamas. I know maybe this topic is quite sensitive, but I still want to share it with you. Just 2 weeks ago, Hamas finally released all remaining hostages and it finally ended the 2 years fight and some hostages was kept in custody for more than 2 years. That is miserable and horrible for all of them and the rest of the world. And finally, it is good to see that Hamas was almost neutralized by Israeli defense force, and I really appreciate their attitude. Finally, Hamas accepted the peace conditions raised by President Trump, who made great efforts to the world peace and released all hostages. And under those peace conditions, it included almost 20 terms, but the most important three are that Hamas has to release all hostages and they have to give up control in Gaza territory, and the most important one is they have to surrender their weapons. That is the top three priorities. And if all those conditions can be reached, it will finally end the war. And it reminds me of 2 years ago, Hamas suddenly launched its attacks to civilians and kidnapped hundreds of innocent people. They are committing criminals, and we could say they are terrorists. And at the very beginning of the war, they did not give up, but after IDF's struggling and fighting, they finally surrendered and reached a consensus, and Israel Defense Force began to withdraw from Gaza, and soon those terrorists began to fight from their hideouts and foxholes, and the war continues. So we could see so many videos online. Those Hamas terrorists cover their face and they hold a parade just like they are victorious, and they recontrolled Gaza territory and killed those dissents and to persecuted those persons who collaborated with Israeli government or who criticized Hamas, and they just meet their end. That is horrible and completely unacceptable. For those terrorists, they are nothing but the evil with modern weapon, and it seems that they will recontrol Gaza, and it is also the darkness for the peaceful land. If they really recontrol Gaza, the war will begin, and if they are not totally terminated, I think it will hurt more civilians. And during the war, almost 65,000 got killed during Israel's defense, and I believe not all of them are civilians. They must include Hamas and Hamas supporters. I believe so. But there is no denying that some people are indeed killed mistakenly, and there is no better solution to end the war, and that is the necessary cost and payment. So I want to say that Israeli government is not sage or saint. They have their own concerns, and if Hamas was not totally neutralized, they will definitely come back. But we also focus on those 20 hostages released by Hamas. At the same time, almost 2,000 Palestinian terrorists was also discharged and released by Israeli government. And they are really terrorists who committed criminals during their terrorism attacks, but and they were indeed put in prison after court trials with strong evidence to show their criminals. Maybe I remember just in 2011 there is a famous exchange of prisoners. Israeli exchanged one Israeli soldier with over 1,000 Palestinian terrorists. It is noticed that Shinwar was in it. Shinwar is a military leader of Hamas military force, and his last video is that Shinwar escaped and hid in a structure, but he was found by a drone. And Shinwar threw a wooden stick to the drone, but he failed, and finally he was neutralized by that drone. That is his last video, and this video was very popular in China. So how could Chinese sin Sinwar? What is their attitude to Sinwar and Hamas? Unfortunately, I have to confess that overwhelming majority of Chinese people believes that Sinwar was a hero. He was a great man. Why? Because he never gave up during the fights. That is the point, and he was killed during a military action, and the whole process was recorded and widespread. And the number one point is that he fight to the death. He didn't give up. That is our own traditional thinking, and I have to say I feel very sorry to all of them. But that is not the whole story, and that is not the truth. Shenhua developed cerebral cancer and he accepted treatment in Israeli prison and he was hospitalized in prison. And why he accepted medical treatment in prison? Because he was a terrorist and he was under arrest during a failed terrorism attack, and he was under arrest and put in prison. There was strong evidence to prove that, and the whole process is illegal, and he accepted verdict and court trial. And in prison, he was treated well, and his disease was cured. But after being released, he continued his wrongdoings, and finally he turned into a terrorist and became Hamas military leader. In my opinion, I do not think he is a hero. He is nothing but a completely terrorist. As Chinese old saying goes, that one good turn deserves another, or it can be interpreted as repay kindness with gratitude, but he did he did nothing. He is evil. By the way, I want to say that it reminds me of Ernesto Guevara. Many Chinese people believe that Che Guevara is a hero, and it is very popular for Chinese young people, young men to wear a black t-shirt with Ernesto Guevara's image, and it is a famous image of Che Guevara wearing a beret and leaving his long whiskers unshaved, and that is a classical image of revolutionist, but I believe he is a criminal. So why do we believe so many evil men are heroes? Now there is a saying that Taliban is a hero. Taliban is a correct first. I feel very sorry for those men. So we have to know why. Because in our Chinese concept, we believe enemy is our friend and it is our ally. And enemy's friend is our enemy. I know it sounds like a tongue twister, and how to explain it in I want to say that North Korea is an enemy to America, and soon it becomes our friend. Israel is American's friend, so America is our enemy, and that is Israel is our enemy, and Hamas is an enemy to Israel, and Israel is an enemy to America. So Hamas is our friend and ally, and that it really sounds like a tongue twister. Palestinian is enemy to India. Indian is friend to America. So Palestinian is our friend and our ally. Okay, that is illogical and ridiculous. And some people criticize that Israeli force committed genocide in Gaza, but I really do not believe so because of Hamas hide in hospitals, they hide in schools, they hide in civilians' apartments. If we want to neutralize them, we really have to destroy the building, destroy the structure, and those media made wrongdoings. They gave a bad example because it overly reported Arabs parade against Israel, and I believe that is a success or the so-called success in media proportion. And in addition, our China has a tradition. We always show our sympathy to the weak, and why Hamas is accepted in China because they are cool, their face are covered, and they hold a weapon, and that is their image, and their slogan is very popular, such as free Palestinian from land to the sea. So if your image is cool, your image is attractive, okay, we show our agreement on you, such as some Chinese stupid persons, they admire Nazi because of their uniform is very cool, and it's their uniform is very cool, and they show their force during the war. That is too bad, and it is quite easy to make those young men blind